Hello, everybody. I'm back again. I didn't necessarily think I would come live again today, but I didn't necessarily think I wasn't either. I didn't have a thought about it, and that's okay. Sometimes it's okay to not have thoughts. But I'm gonna pull all of these. We're just gonna make a mess. I want to make a mess of things. I want to put like all these cards out. I don't have enough space, but I wanted some to be like everywhere, and then just sort of pull together a message. I know sometimes, one of the ways that I used to read was I would lay out layers of cards looking for a significator. And then I would sort of pull everything pull everything off the table outside of what I was looking for. And it was like part of the process, like decluttering, delineating, and I was gonna do like multiple at once. I don't want to do like a pick a card, pick a pile. I was just gonna like read energies. Nothing's gonna be time stamped here. There's no books will be read today, so hopefully I know what I will. No books are gonna be read. We're just gonna go for it. I didn't want a tarot deck, and I also didn't want cards that I necessarily use super often. I would actually love to put the wild unknown archetype cards in here. Low key, but this is enough. And so I guess I'm just gonna shuffle, pull, shuffle, pull, shuffle, pull, or maybe I'll just pull. Yeah, we're just gonna pull. And so then I can just leave these up here, and I don't have to worry about them. No, we'll see. I'll just go with it. I won't think too hard about it. And I'll do as many rounds, I guess, as I feel like. I do want to shuffle these a little bit, though. Door to Romance in the Sun at the cut. What? Woo! I'm so emotional. Oh, woman holding a heart in the sun. I'm so emotional today. We filmed a podcast episode, and I'm just like, oh. Miss Remy Healing, she went live earlier today, and she was talking about World of Warcraft. And I was just reminiscing back on my World of Warcraft days, and I got emotional. I was starting to get emotional. I'm like, oh my gosh. But one of the things that I really liked so I got into raiding later. Like, I was playing the game for a while, and honestly, I'm the type of person that, like, whenever I'm doing one thing, I want to be doing something else. Literally anything but what I'm doing sometimes. And so it took me a long time to get a character that was max level in that game because they had so many different classes. And it's like, well, the more I play this one class, the more I want to play all the other classes. Now, the only things I didn't do was tank and heal. So if it was a healing class, like I had a priest, but I did shadow priest because, they could DPS. And I had a shaman, but I did the non-healing shaman. The one that I did want to heal with was the monk, because monk healing involved a certain amount of like damage dealing a little bit. And I was like, oh, that's cute. I can do that. I can still fight and heal people simultaneously. Like, yes. I was not a huge fan of tanking. But anyway, so like I had a lot of characters, and then I had quite a few characters at max level. But I was in a guild. It took me a minute to find a guild that I really liked, and it ended up being a family guild. It was a dude and his wife from Texas, and then like one of their parents, like their pair of parents was in there. It was very family friendly, had a very family feel. And when we raided, so I played a lot of DPS, a damage dealer, right? So you have the person who holds attention from the monsters, that's the tank. You have the people who like pew pew the monsters, that's the DPS, damage per second. And then you have the healers who make sure everyone, stays alive. And with the family guild, like I played a hunter primarily. Like that was one of my first characters. It's the first one I got to max level. And whenever I did raids, I raided as my hunter. And the hunter is it's a damage dealing class. It's a ranged class. You can use a bow and arrow or a gun if you want, crossbows. But there is some sort of survivability mechanics, a little bit of crowd control. and they had this one shot. It would like draw a monster's attention. And long story short, like when I raided with them, my top concern and my top priority wasn't like dealing as much damage as I could do. And that's one thing that I really, really, really liked about raiding with them, because I remember, and it's like we weren't necessarily professional raiders, and we weren't necessarily concerned with um, numbers. It was like, we're just having a good time as we play together. And anyway, like the tank was holding the boss, and there were some little trash mobs, some little smaller monsters that got loose and was attacking the healer. And the healer was like, what was my name? It was like Flamal, Flamal. She was like, Flam, like I got these mobs on me, like can you pick them up? And I was like, yeah. So I used the shot that would generate aggro, and then I took those to the tank. Hey Zelda, how you doing today? And when I did that, it's like, my damage lowered because I was doing something that wasn't necessarily within my role. But me doing what I did kept the healer alive, which in turn, kept the whole group alive. And then when I raided with more like hardcore professional raiders, it was like it was all about numbers. And I continued to sort of play that utility role because that's what I was used to. I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. There's no real point and purpose to this, as far as I know. We're just kind of sort of, I'm shuffling these up, and then I'll just start pulling. I'll just start pulling cards, and we'll see what comes out. And so because I was a little bit more utility, it's like my numbers wouldn't be the highest because, I'm looking, making sure the healers are okay and other people with like less health are okay and just doing my part. And I remember in Nax Ramos, there was a Gluth fight, and I had to kite zombie things, and that was difficult, but I did it. Anyway, I just appreciated the experience of being a team player more so than trying to maximize my own sort of damage numbers. A single blade cuts through the tempest, calming the winds, a dislodged hunk of cheese. There's an energy here of things that it's almost like a truth that hasn't been spoken, something that hasn't been communicated, that has kept something stagnant. Not only did it keep it stagnant, it's like there's a lot of, in that space of stagnancy, it caused a lot of drama or confusion or other things. It's like if it were a pool, if we're talking about a body of water, then the drain gets clogged. And when the drain is clogged, it's like it creates this whirlpool of things that are trying to go down the drain but can't. And so it's like when you unclog the drain, then it's like, everything sort of calms. Very much so, Ace of Swords energy. Bottom of the deck, the energy that we send out is the energy that we receive. The future is born in the heart. I don't know. Anyway, I was just thinking about WoW and running with my old guild, and then I got emotional. I was like, oh my gosh, I miss them. That's also the reason why I don't, use my microphone when I play games now. Because one day, I was playing with my little brother. Because I got him into World of Warcraft, and, for a minute, there was only one computer in the house, and that was difficult. Then I got my laptop, so we could both play. It's like, well, we can't be hooked on WoW with only one computer, because one of us won't be able to play. And technically, I was playing first, so I should be able to play. But I was singing, Pussycat Dolls when I grow up. And I'm just in there singing. My microphone is on. The whole guild is listening to me. And then I stopped because, the song was over or whatever. And then they were like, oh, why did you stop? And I'm like, yeah, you were so good. And somebody's like, I want to hear some singing. I was like, oh my gosh, I was mortified. I was so embarrassed. I didn't use my microphone at all for anything for a while after that. I was like, I can't go through that embarrassment again. Material intervention, the coming of spring. Mastering the game of life. So let's just start with this one. however many cards I feel. Ooh, man holding a heart, angel of strength, indecision. Who is that? Sukloth, Matariel, and Cambiel. Let me put my glasses on so I can read. Cambiel, angel of Aquarius, Matariel, angel of rain, Saflatus, angel of dust. Let's get two of these. The moon in the book. And then let's get one of these. Get wild. So we have Get Wild and the moon in the book, 32 and 26. Get Wild, the moon in the book, this is a primal nature, or something that is our first nature, but we've sort of been conditioned out of it because we're civilized now. Bezaliel, angel of shadows, is not going back. So yeah, this is that sort of primal nature energy. This is that second nature, the side of ourselves, the parts of ourselves that we try to hide in the shadows. Those are sort of being drawn to the light right now. Then I'll put these together. So the man holding a heart and Cambiel, angel of Aquarius, there's an ascended master energy here. But it's also like there's a master of ascended masters energy here as well, because I don't want to say ascended masters are a thing of the past, but the way that we're manifesting the age of Aquarius and the way that we talk about the age of Pisces, the energy of ascended masters more so belongs to the age of Pisces. And that's the energy of ascended masters in this space where like they do things for us or they do everything for us. The age of Aquarius that we've manifested is like where multiple people are coming into that Christ-like consciousness, where we're all sort of becoming masters or reaching a certain level of mastery. Next, it's the angel of strength and Matario. This is, I feel like Miss Remy healings, I know, and it reminded me of the Goddess Isis reading that she did a while ago, something she said today. But it was like there are these sort of pieces of ourselves, fragments of the self that are returning sort of in the wind on these wings of the Goddess of Isis. The Goddess of Isis, the Goddess Isis. And what's raining down, it's like these pieces, these fragments of the self. Also, within Cambiel, there is like the heart space. There's like that sort of space in the heart space, and then here's the man holding the heart, right? Oops, there you go. The man holding a heart, so it's gonna sort of go in there for each individual in the collective. This is like the raining hearts that we sort of find and pick up. And then Saflatus, angel of dust with indecision. I know in her last, it's carrying an energy that's like the Sagittarius reading that she did. It's like we're going into these new beginnings waiting for the dust to settle, but the dust isn't going to settle until we do whatever it is that we need to do, until we find whatever it is that we need to find, until whatever is missing is sort of put there. It reminds me of Gabriel the Golden Herald and Bina, I think, Left Eye Wisdom, or Left Eye Knowledge, or was it Tiferet or Gavura? It was one of the Sephira in the Tree of Life and Gabriel the Golden Herald, or the Angel of Heralds. Because it was like there was a book, like a record, that Gabriel was keeping, but there was something missing. And then the Sephira, it came out with the pearl. Also, there was Tiferet, I think. There was another one that had two pearls. One of them was red, and the other one was that typical pearl color. And it's like there's one that precedes the other, or like we run with one and then it over time it changes and shifts into another. I said I didn't want to pull Tarot Apocalypsis. There we go. I'm kind of low-key hoping the Ace of Swords comes out in this deck because of the runes. Oh, wow. Wow. Well, there's the title card, so I guess I'm done. Bottom of the deck is the Eight of Wands. Darn it. Wow, that didn't... I just grabbed this whole deck for no reason. The title card has Fool energy on it. What I love about this Fool energy, it's stepping into a new space. It's crossed a certain threshold. And the animal that typically tries to lead the Fool away from the cliff, it's like they're going in the same direction now. And it's coming out of the space of the darkness, out of the space of the dark night, out of the space of that shadow integration. The Joker and the Fool, they're the same energy. Mastering the game of life, the energy of ascended masters. The coming of spring. There are, what are those, grapes? There's like grapevines growing around these pillars, symbolizing sort of like an energy of fertility, but also an energy of not drunkenness, but joviality, jovialness, right? Jove, Jupiter, Zeus. But it's sort of it's leading us here now. But the eyes of the Fool are closed. There's fire in the cup, and the bag is almost caught on fire. So there is a little bit of an energy of the things that we bring with us. And I think that's sort of the moon in the book with the shadow behind Bezaliel. It's almost this energy of like there are certain things that can creep in. And maybe it's this angel of dust and indecision over here. More so than anything else. It's almost this energy that's like things are going to change regardless. The paradigm is going to shift regardless of whether you do the work or like whether you do the work or not, the shift is going to happen. Your experience within this new space will more or less be the same though, if there are things that are sort of like not done or unresolved. But it feels like if that is the case, there will still be things that sort of call you beyond. Like there will still be more. I don't know. So that's one of them. Let's do this again. I'll put you over here. Wow, the title card has never come out in that deck. I guess it would be me just accidentally sort of pulling it. Accidentally, quote unquote. It's almost like we're going into the realm of the High Priestess. It's not created yet, whatever it is. So it's almost like it doesn't matter if your eyes are open or if your eyes are closed. Because it feels like the High Priestess's eyes are closed and your intuition will lead you in this space more than anything anyway. The ring symbolizing commitment. Also sort of cyclic nature is very sort of Lord of the Rings vibes off of this ring. And it reminds me of Sam. It's almost like, well, if the journey was Sam's, we would, it's almost structured in a way that we would believe, it'd be super easy. Sam wouldn't fall to the same temptations that Frodo did. Sam, oh, when did this come out? The Coffin. Oops. Oh, nearly awakened hidden power with this coffin. Love that. And the ring. Because the energy that's here, it's almost like there was something that was promised a long time ago. Almost. Or there's something that was done a long time ago. But it hasn't been able to be fulfilled. because conditions aren't right. Circumstances hadn't yet. It just wasn't time. For whatever reason, it just wasn't the time yet. Ooh, the pillar with that gateway that we just saw. The pillar and versatility. This is interesting. This is that energy. This is the energy that came out in the last reading I did on the other channel. It's like there's something that you've already accomplished either earlier in this lifetime or in a previous lifetime. Honestly, it mostly feels like a past life. There's something that was accomplished in a past life, but it's like either you didn't get a chance to see how that would play out fully because it was stopped, or the way it played out before and the situations and circumstances before are going to be different than they are now. And that's the pillar and versatility, right? It's a judgment energy. I literally just watched like the first 2 or 3 minutes of Miss Remy Healing's Capricorn video, and she was talking about judgment and how it's a return of things from the dead. It feels like something is going to be walking through these sort of pillars, returning to life, springing out of the ground with a coffin in the ring. The ring is like there was something done before it went into the ground, and there were conditions for when it would return. This is the return, but with versatility, it's like it isn't quite figured out. A complete restructuring of home, a breathtaking sight that redefines beauty, allowing one's soul to breathe. A commitment to self, that could be the ring. Breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires. So we have breath that takes the shape of one's truest desires and a breathtaking sight that redefines beauty. The versatility in this, it also feels like something within the space of this commitment will change, or it's like the space where a mission can deepen, right? Let's say that your purpose has something to do with orphans and finding homes for them. And so, like, that's what you do. But then all of a sudden, it's like, you're finding homes for orphans, but then one day it's just like, well, what are the conditions that lead so many kids to sort of be orphaned in the first place? And if we can address that issue, then there will be less orphans. Not because they're necessarily like less kids born, but because they'll be like parents will be better able to take care of and to keep their children. They'll be more prepared, and so it's like less that go into the system, and it's a better sort of overall for everyone. Not that there is, anything wrong, obviously. But it's this energy of like going closer to the source or something, because with versatility it's not completely separate. It is like sort of these things that all share the same sort of stem right here, right? Different petals on this leaf, but they all have the same stem. It's still connected, it's still related, but it happens a little differently. In the space of darkness, in the space of everything that you've experienced before the return of this, I feel like that gives context to how it's going to be used. Whatever that is. Let's just go. My head is starting to hurt, but that's fine. Let's start with one of these this time. Excuse me. So yeah, there was almost this energy that's like, maybe you discovered something, maybe you found something, but the world wasn't yet ready for it, so it's like it got plucked before you could really discover. And it's like you're in a space of discovering what it can do now, but because everything is different, it may work out differently than you initially thought, right? That's why that versatility is important. Matariel, Angel of Rain again. Let's read Matariel this time, even though I said I wasn't going to read. O lonely fountain, bless us mortals that dwell beneath you. Let our gratefulness abate your sadness. Let our prayers reach you, lonely Matariel. We seek your embrace. We beg that you may stretch your hand so we may praise your generosity. O great muse of rain, O sustainer of life, we patiently await your blessing. I'm just going to come right over here. This almost feels like that energy that was around the Emperor, when Emperor energy became the Hierophant. It's our dependence on Emperor, or it's our dependence on Hierophant energy that sort of twisted the Hierophant into what it is today. Oh, well, yeah, look at that. Five of Cups. Please stretch your hand out so we may feel your generosity. We eagerly await you. But there's something about the energy that we're in not being a match to the energy that we wish to receive. It's like the heavens are parting, everything that you need is there. The gods are watching with with Odin's two crows or ravens. But the reason why it's sort of not happening is within you. Then we have the Six of Pentacles and the Six of Swords. See, this is something about the way we've been trained or conditioned to live life. Things that have been inherited and things that have carried through from generation to generation that has kept that spirit separate. It's that energy of like the way that we go about things doesn't allow for spirit to come in the way that it wants, or in the way, honestly, that we even want it to. And it reminds me again of that Three of Pentacles that was in the Mystical Dreams Tarot. It's like whatever you use spirit for, however you depend on spirit, it's such a small. It's almost like it takes nothing for spirit to do what it is that we ask of spirit so often. And it's not that spirit isn't alive. It's the energy. It's like, imagine that you work a job that is like super, it doesn't challenge you in any way. It's like you can do it in your sleep, and so sometimes you do it in your sleep. Like in the Three of Pentacles card in the Mystical Dreams Tarot, she was taking from the tree, but the person in the tree was asleep. And that's what it feels like this is. And again, it's that energy where it's like it's on you. There's no room for spirit in that boat, right? And that goes back to the Lovers yesterday that came out to clarify like the space of the soul challenge. It's like, leave room for Jesus. There's no room for spirit to come in and to really amplify or grow or be anything else because of this energy that we stay in, because of what we continuously demand of spirit and how we continuously go about sort of like that relationship. Maybe Matariel is lonely because we don't know Matariel like we used to. Don't know about that, but that's what it was. Let's see. I guess the next deck will be the other one. Second chakra, Archangel Ariel. That's the solar plexus. It's the home of the Kundalini. Let's see. Who is this? Barakiel, Angel of Lightning. With the dog. The rider. And fish. Oh, snap! Woman holding a heart. I didn't even notice her under there. 44 and 36. 18, 1, 34. Let's do it this way. I want to get 2 for this one. Two 10s. Well, I guess this one will get 3. Then one of these. Love. Oh, love that. Oh, look, a heart. Heart of creation. So, school of glimmering fish. The fish is here. The heart and the heart in love. A bell. Oh, there's a heart here too. All right, let's just start reading these. So the dog with the woman holding a heart, that's a very sort of loyal love. A school of glimmering fish, spotlight of sunken treasure, the rising of a new continent, fueling the growing fire of truth, creating space for a miracle, delving inside to go beyond. This dog, it's reminding me of Phanuel, Angel of Truth, and how it says that Phanuel, Angel of Truth, waits at the throne, waiting for us to sort of return. This is that Hachiko energy. Who was I talking to? It was my friend the other day. She was like, "Oh, my dog probably forgot me," because she's been away from home for almost 2 years now. She's like, "Oh, my dog probably forgot me," and it's like, well, probably not, because it reminds me of Hachiko. It reminds me of Fry's dog. I don't remember his name. It's all those stories of the dog who would sit and wait for their owner's return. And with the way that she's looking at this dog, it feels like it aches her. It hurts her that she can't return to the dog. It's the space of something that she's sacrificing. But she can't communicate to this dog that she's never going to come home. Then we have the angel, no, second chakra archangel Ariel. With the rider, a blistering heat and freezing cold that lies at the heart of creation, the truth of the heart made plain, beginnings, a purifying light, a renewed mind, a moment of timelessness and love. Let's see what's this. Barachiel, angel of lightning, didn't. The story is that he didn't respect his own power and it consumed him. And it's because of Barachiel that humanity and angels learned that, angels are neither immortal nor complete in their wisdom. What did it say? Barachiel was renowned both for the power he commanded and also his lack of respect for it. His fall was the first proof beyond any doubt that Watchers were not complete in their wisdom or their immortality. And then we have Fish. Oh, look, I think Fish is the King of Diamonds. You see that? Hold on, wait, there you go. You see that? Looks like the King of Diamonds, and the King of Diamonds actually came out. A bell that brings the physical and intangible into harmony as it pulses out into the universe, collision or cohesion. A shift in the wind, a leaf caught in an eddy, the birth of a new language, nearly perfect harmony, a crystal clear night of charted stars, and triplets in the third trimester. Both of these have an energy of change. This card has an energy of feeling the change, or the change sort of about to be born. It's carrying the change. But with this Fish card, there's a certain disharmony here. Here's the energy of the one who isn't able to return home with the heavy heart. Here's the energy of an accident that happened. In the middle is love. Honestly, it's almost carrying a sort of like past life trauma type of feeling to it. And with this Rider card, what this feels like a story of like two people who met a tragic end in one timeline, and so now they reincarnate over and over trying to find each other almost. Honestly, what this is reminding me of, it's the Mother of Many that came out in Russell's reading in front of the dolmen back when he was around dolmens. and the white elk, I think, or the white heart. Hey, Eve. You're fine. It's just a bunch of random things. It's all random. Because here's the energy of the loss that she felt. Here's her love and dedication to help humanity. Almost sort of motivated by this loss. And then here is sort of how, in the beginning, it's almost like how, even though she was doing all of this good, it still didn't replace the thing that she had lost. Or it still wasn't a substitute for what was lost. And it feels like as she reached the end of her life, there were things that she began to notice and realize. It's almost that energy of like, it's like if you've never experienced a romantic love, or if your relationship with one of your parents isn't that great, or one of your siblings isn't that great, or your familial sort of structure isn't that great. Or if you have a romantic partner and your family is great, but you don't really have a lot of like platonic friends. It's an energy of like lacking love in one area, it being abundantly present in other areas, but still sort of like feeling the lack in that one area. And then there comes this moment in time where you realize that all of that love is there and has been there. And when you have that realization, it makes room for you to receive it in the area where you haven't been receiving it. Because there's a blockage there. And that's what this is. Second chakra archangel Ariel. Even though like the sacral isn't necessarily the heart space, it feels like a disruption in the heart space is pulling the sacral out of alignment. And by that, it's like whatever your issues or whatever the issues in the heart space are. Thank you. Good. I was like, well, I can. I was like, I can do it. And it like thankfully it wasn't too bad, right? And then I was like putting people in timeout at first, and then I was like, I've never actually like had to use moderator powers really. I've had them before, but again, never really had to use them. But it was nice. It was an honor. Yeah, it feels like the issue is in the heart space, but it's manifesting that distortion, that block in the heart. It's leaking down into the sacral, and what it's doing is it's like it's coming through as like intimacy issues. And it feels like intimacy issues in a way that we don't understand, like sort of why they're there, but the cause lies elsewhere. And with the fish, it's like mobile. It's like it's within the realm of emotion, but it can move. And so where we feel the blockage the most may not actually be sort of where it is. And I feel like with this rider, it's like we're trying to have the same mobility, like we're trying to track it, but this is on land and this is in the water. There's a difference here. Between the dog and Barakiel receiving through his crown, again, it feels like the information is trying to come, but it's like since it's not coming, it's this energy of like the path of least resistance. We have less resistance in an area that's unrelated to the actual blockage. Where the actual blockage is, we have so much resistance that it's very difficult for spirit to get a clear and direct message to us, right? It's like in this card, it's like the mask that Barakiel is wearing doesn't allow for electricity to flow through it. So as it goes through his crown, it arcs outward at the space of the third eye. Now, if the mask wasn't there, then he would conduct it fully, and like the lightning would go into his body, and it would blast open wherever that blockage is, right? But because this is here, and maybe that's related to things that haven't been spoken or things that aren't said, and maybe they can't even be said because, again, we don't even understand the source of this blockage ourselves. And so Spirit takes the path of least resistance to try to get it to us, but we don't. Again, it feels like it's so far removed from the actual source that it takes us a minute to sort of heal it. And that could be one reason why it's taking a little longer to heal something, because there's still too much resistance in the space where it's like if we could apply that healing more directly, it would be of like a greater benefit, if that makes any sense. If that makes sense. Just a whole bunch of messages for now-ish, for the eclipse, for Venus in Cancer, Mars at the end of Cancer, Pluto retrograde, Saturn retrograde, anything like that. Yeah, there was a pretty like sad and heavy energy in that. And it also, like, it feels like maybe a perceived inability to reciprocate a more unconditional love because of certain happenings. Now this one I'm actually going to transmute, withdraw, death, the pillar, patience, dare to dream, and the sage. Let's see. An immediately met request, the land where all seasons reside, fueling the growing fire of truth, creating space for a miracle, delving inside to go beyond, bringing order to thought, proper delegation of tasks, seeing the internal through the external. I guess I'll put this one on here too. Operating as a unified whole, living the example, a heart that shines from the depths of the soul. Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands, they're both going to go here. Muriel, Angel of Cancer, Zachiel, Angel of Purity, Leliel, Angel of Night, Asbiel, Angel of Ruin. There's Gabriel, the Golden Herald. We'll turn Gabriel face up, because I guess that was happening. Contract, adjacent possibilities, man holding a coin. I have these, and I don't have these. That's fine. Let's do these 3. Or 4. Okay. That works. The fox, the lady, birds, and mice. Okay. So over here, there's what? Transmute and withdrawal that go into patience. Right? Yes. Transmute and withdrawal that go into patience. It's interesting because Muriel, Angel of Cancer, I would feel goes more with withdrawal, like hermit crabs. Zachiel, Angel of Purity, I would think goes more with transmute. And so there's already a little bit of sort of lines crossing. It bleeds into patience, but patience is sort of clarified by an immediately met request. So here's an energy of patience, and here's an energy of instant sort of fulfillment with contract here. The fox, the lady, birds, and mice. There's a lot of animals here. I feel like the fox is the lady. And you can see that in this fox card. The fox is a lady. Foxy ladies. Through like that kitsune trickster property of foxes where they can sort of like change their appearances, right? The bird is able to see through this disguise. And we see the birds in the lady. Like birds up here, birds up here. I feel like the bird is able to see through the fox's disguise because from the bird's perspective, it can observe like behaviors more so than appearances. There's something about patterns here. Mice, it's this energy of little things that add up to be bigger things. And so there's almost this energy here where it's like there wasn't necessarily one thing in particular that revealed whatever is being revealed here. It was a series of things. With the man holding a coin here, it's almost like this energy believed that it had to be something that it wasn't in order to gain the attention of this man. In that it committed itself to this illusion. Right? That's why in the contract card it's blind. Then with adjacent possibilities here, there's this energy where it would get close, but it would never sort of reach it. Then we have withdrawal and what is this? Death that lead to dare to dream. This reminds me of something I did a while ago when I used the Wild Unknown Tarot to tell a story. I'm not remembering the story. Yeah, I am, but it doesn't matter. So within the context of this energy has become something else for a reason, for a purpose. In the space of it being separate from itself, in the space of it acting outside of its own true nature, there's this a pull to return to center. I feel like this would be the space where this lady energy would say that her ego, her shadow side is acting up, but what her shadow side is actually doing is trying to pull her back into her authenticity. Her shadow side is the side of her that wants to be able to be who it is fully and completely and be loved and accepted for that. It's the part of her that doesn't want to hide. But since she's in an energy of feeling that she has to hide in order to get whatever this is over here, it causes, again, like that's that mix-up sort of energy. And that's why the angel of purity is now connected to this angel of night. Because what is the truth of her, she has suppressed. She suppressed her truth to the point where her truth has become her shadow. And her light is the facade. It's the mask that she wears. Hey, how you doing, Lauren? Thanks again for that shout out, girl. I was like, whoo! I'm ready to put myself out there a little bit more. I guess I didn't put myself out there, but thank you. Thank you. How you doing? How you doing? It's like the truth of her, it's been pushed into the night. This Dare to Dream card, see, it's weird because it feels like in this Dare to Dream card, it's like this is the growing desire for acceptance within this individual, but she gets even further from her authenticity. And so again, with the card of adjacent possibilities, even when it came to this, it's like whatever she desires is possible, but it's her sort of blindly, it's like her trying to balance out the scales in a situation that actually gets her further away from this, because this energy, it's like, I love you for who you are, baby, like you don't gotta change for me or whatever type of energy, right? This is like the girl, she goes through, she's tired of being ignored, and so she goes through this whole change, and she gets the attention of the dude finally, and the dude is like, yeah, like, you know, I liked you better before. And she's like, what? I didn't even know that you knew I existed back then. He's like, yeah, like I've kind of sort of been feeling something for you like this whole time. But then you changed and it got weird because I was like, the girl that I used to like was the girl that you used to be. But when you were that girl, you didn't have the confidence to come talk to me. So all of our interactions were sort of less than what they could have been. So there is something that the facade gives her. There is something that the mask does that allows her to get closer to this energy. But since that authenticity isn't there, it's like it's always an adjacent possibility. It's always like right outside of her grasp, right? Fueling the growing fire of truth, creating space for a miracle, delving inside to go beyond. It's more so that fueling the growing fire of truth card. Her acting outside of alignment with her true authentic self is making, again, it's like it's making that part of her that wishes to be authentic even stronger. This is the space of her internal conflict. And again, that's why it feels like she's pushing it, she's passing it a shadow. Yeah. And then lastly, we have death that goes into the pillar, and that comes out as the sage. Again, here's that energy of something crossing from the realm of the dead into the realm of the living, or something sort of crossing dimensions. Asbiel, Angel of Ruin, it's an energy that brings abundance. It's an energy of amplification, but it only exists in a space of peace, right? Who is this? Operating as a unified whole, living the example, a heart that shines from the depths of the soul, bringing order to thought, proper delegation of tasks, seeing the internal through the external. It's that heart that shines from the depths of the soul, bringing order to thought, and then both operating as a unified whole and proper delegation of tasks. And in that, it's like we have Queen of Wands, Queen of Swords energy. Queen of Wands is definitely that energy that acts in its own authenticity. Queen of Swords, she's almost like the one that doesn't care. This man holding a coin, it's an energy of abundance more than anything. But more like wealth type of abundance, more like money type of abundance than another type of abundance, right? I feel like woman holding the heart would be like a felt emotional abundance. Man holding a coin, it's like sort of man and man energy as the provider or whatever, right? And so it carries the energy of physical abundance. And with this mice card, it's like it's the little things. It's the little things that align us to the energy of abundance, and it's the little things that really put us sort of like anti-polarized to it. Let's get some of this. Can y'all hear Chino outside? Just barking. Ooh, oh gosh, not the floor. Not the floor, please. Please. I may not be able to find you. Hold up. Oh, here's a card. The Four of Cups. Oops. 1 second. I'm trying to turn on my flashlight so I can see if there's anything else down here. It felt like more than one card fell, but maybe not. So I'm not seeing nothing else. The Four of Cups. This is an energy. It's both an energy of like she will always be waiting as long as she's in this energy. But there's also an aspect that is like the power of her and her authenticity. There's something deeper here. Not deeper necessarily. It's very like solar plexus feeling. It feels like there's a blockage in the sacral so that the energy doesn't even make it to like the solar plexus, right? Because if the Kundalini lives in the sacral and if the Kundalini rises, then it's like, well, if there's a blockage in the sacral, then the Kundalini energy isn't going to go anywhere. And it may be in the root. I mean, not necessarily. It's just like there's an energy in the sacral here that isn't able to be tapped into. And that's why it's the energy of the Four of Cups. How long have I been on here? Oh, it ain't even been an hour yet? What? Again, these are a bunch of just random messages, so feel free to watch or not wherever. You don't necessarily have to be around for all of them. And then Gabriel the Golden Herald. Again, like that's the power of you and your authenticity. When you're in your authenticity, you are the beacon, you are the light, you are the magnet that pulls everything to you. Even when you're not in your authenticity, you're still the magnet, right? But for what it feels like, for what you want, like you and your authenticity will get you that effortlessly. It's just like naturally sort of magnetized towards you, right? I feel like I'm going to grab another deck. I'm going to do it. Why not add another deck to the party? I'm going to grab those wild unknown archetypes because I wanted to grab them earlier, but I didn't. I think Chino's ready to come inside. He's like, did y'all forget me out here? I am not an outside dog. I've had enough. It's hot. It's muggy. I'm bored. I'm ready to come inside and just lay in the way somewhere that you have to step over me. The bridge is interesting. Bridge has been a message today. I started the video that you did, Eve, but I didn't finish it. And I think it was like Crossing the Bridge That You Created was the title of the video. I need to go back and finish it. The orphan. Here's the orphan, which is interesting because I talked about orphans. Or I used the orphan example. There's a lot of heavy emotion here. And I'm not going to dig too deep into it because I don't want to cry today. The orphan, the pilgrim is at the bottom. What this card reminds me of, it reminds me of the Mother of Wands in the Wild Unknown Tarot. And in the Mother of Wands card, she's guarding 3 eggs. And it's like this is the mother who's lost her child. And I know in Cindy, Awakening to Spirit's last Pisces video, it was a mother and child reunion. See, this is that mother of many energy. Again. Because even before he said it in the video, it felt like, to me, it was this energy of like maybe she had a little brother or there was a child that she was supposed to have that she lost. And it's the pain of that loss that almost, it's not like that's not the only reason why she like became the mother of many, but I feel like it's a pain that she felt, or one of these mothers felt. But at the end of her life, she was able to experience how much she was actually loved. The tree in the house. The tree house. Oh, that's Crossroads. Crossroads in the house. 22 and 4. 22 is a 4. The crossroads in the house. This is that tough decision that a mother might have to make when she decides that her child would have a better life somewhere else. And that's the thing. It's like in this space, you don't actually know that. And so there's almost this question of like, either what position would you have to be in, or how bad would you have to sort of believe things would be if the unknown is more comfortable for your child. And like this, it's the space of a very heavy decision. I feel like this also came out one time. I don't remember the context, but it was like there was a parent who wanted to know their child, but the child was put into the system. There was a child who wanted to know their parent, but because of the system, it's like they don't share that information. But because both individuals inquire, they do. So outside of the heaviness of that energy, it's a space of mutual connection. And it's a space of something that only works because a mutual connection. It's like every wind in this road is a different choice. And it's an alignment of choices on multiple sides. Let's see. Six of Pentacles, Six of Swords again. Three of Pentacles, King of Swords. There's also, it's a little bit of the energy of an ancestor here. It's a little bit of an energy of like ancestral sort of karma, or like a generational curse type of thing, or a generational pattern. And again, it's very much like Madame Zeroni from Holes, when Stanley Yelnats, the 15th, carried Hector up the mountain on his back or whatever. And in him doing that, it fulfilled a promise that was made but was broken. But it feels like for whatever reason, this promise wasn't able to be kept. So it's like several generations removed. In this space of almost never-ending hardship, because the Five of Swords is on the boat, and the sixth sword, which is the peace, which is moving into calmer waters, it's hidden by this ghost from the past. Over here, it gets corrected. The King of Swords is the observer. And again, it reminds me of whatever that card was that had the two crows at the top. And I was like, those are the eyes of Odin, so like spirit is watching or whatever. Like Odin is watching. And whatever is being built now is going to have, It's like even in the beginning, I feel like things are going to start improving. The energy is going to lighten. But again, it's still the beginning. One of these. Is that two? Yeah, door to value in the sun. It's the door to value because in that movie, it's like after the curse was broken, like they found a bunch of money, right? And with the sun, it's the coming into brighter times. 1 in 31. 30 is the hanged man, which again is that energy of waiting for something to be fulfilled. Hey, Zelda. And it feels like this is very unexpected. It feels like this is almost so unexpected that it's like there's something that's going to happen. The wheel of fortune is going to change in a positive direction. There's something that's going to be discovered. This door to value can be self value, self worth, that leads to an increase in external sort of like money, right? External things that we sort of associate value with because of your internal value. And it feels like it's gonna like trigger emotions that you may not even necessarily know why you have. Or like if there's somebody in the family and there's something done, then like maybe it's like an elder in the family or something like that, and you do something and then they say like, oh, like, my grandmother, my grandfather, or in our family it's always been like this has typically been the run of things, but like you're doing something different. I'm proud of you. And again, it's like it's not for the lack of love that something didn't work. I don't know. Oof. That was a little somber. A little morose. Miss Remy Healings. She's amazing. She's one of my faves. I love her. So much appreciation. And she used to play WoW. She's a gamer. I'm like, what? I've met so many girl gamers. And I have not so many, but I have a few dude friends who are like, oh, there are no girl gamers. Like, girls don't like video games and anime or this or that. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I have so many lady friends who are into video games, into anime, into everything. Like, personally, can't relate. But, I guess unfortunately for me, I am of the homosexual persuasion. So, it's like, man, where are the dudes that I could have, Anyway, the mirror and the river. This is interesting. The shaman. Oh, this is a lot. The eternal child, the healer, and the mask. Ooh, the eternal child, the healer, and the mask. I think this is Shiva energy, if I'm not mistaken, with the snakes. I think Shiva is like the destroyer, but it speaks to that ability of, um, it's like anything in the right concentration can be medicinal. What? That is so cool, Eve. Ooh. How do I want... Ooh, what is this? What's at the top of what was left behind? The day of longest light or night, a garment for all occasions, filling a gap. We're coming upon the summer solstice, winter solstice. We're coming upon the solstices. So that's interesting. We're going to do this. 2 cards. I only wanted 1. and also this. So with the energy of the mirror and the river, it's interesting because water reflects, but it also distorts. That's a lot, but I'll take this one. Oh wait, no, I'm not gonna take that. It was supposed to be face down. It's fine. It's kind of in reverse now. The letter and the gentleman. Oh, we see the gentleman. She's on TikTok mostly. Okay. I still haven't gotten into TikTok. I'm still like, I'm still upset about Vine. And I'm like, I'm never going to join TikTok. Bring back Vine. It's kind of dumb. 2728. That's interesting. So we start with the mirror and the river. And it's interesting because water is water, it's never necessarily going to give an accurate depiction. There's an energy of an inherent distortion because of the property of the mirror that we're looking into. It can't reproduce or portray like accurately. It's just one of the properties of water. Ascension and ask body is with this rest and rejuvenation. Ascension and ask body reminds me of ascension symptoms. Also with rest and rejuvenation, I have not had dinner yet, Zelda. Also with rest and rejuvenation, it's like, at least now, like I've been so tired. I've been taking so many naps. It's like whatever your body needs in this time, give it to it. But there's also this energy, it's like, oh, I've heard it. It's like, sometimes in certain spaces, our body tries to put us to sleep because of sort of like what we experience in the dream world, or because there's less resistance to certain energies when we're asleep. It's almost that sort of energy. It's like your body is sort of maybe like pushing you towards something, but it's for a deeper reason. It's like they're connected. Like, it's not that the river isn't going to be accurate at all, but there's a little bit of distortion here. It's like it could be a slightly different reason, or it could be more than you would have initially perceived, right? Maybe it's important for you to receive a lot of messages through the space of your dreams right now, so that's why you're extra tired. Or maybe you are going to be coming into a time where a lot is going to be required of you energetically, and so your body is sort of preparing you for that. That's that psychosomatic connection, but it's more in the psychopsychic. Like, you intuitively know, like source communicates to you what is coming. Your body is just naturally intuitive. And so it starts to prepare itself before you even know what it's preparing itself for, which is why it's important that you listen to it at this time. You may not, like, you might be like, oh, I don't want to be lazy. I don't want to just like sleep and nap all day. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And that's where like a little bit of that distortion is. It's like, no, like there's a reason why you're doing this. Like, trust it, listen to it. Shaman is coming here. Under the day of longest light or night, a garment for all occasions, and filling a gap. Honestly, with the day of longest light or night, it's just giving solstice vibes. And the shaman is one who would be connected enough to the cycles where that solstice would mean something. It's the opportunity for something to transpire, for something to occur, for like a portal or energetic portal to open or something like that. Right? This is the thing that the shaman is connected to. And it's like we are the shaman, and our body is responding in a way that we may not necessarily grasp in the moment. Now over here with the eternal child, the healer, and the mask, with the letter and the gentleman, I'm going to pull one of these. Or some of these. Oh, that was a lot. Was that Empress energy? I almost wish I took it. Oh, look at that. The title card. I'm kind of low-key hoping it comes out. The wheel. Okay. Bottom of the deck is the Fool. That's 100. 10 and 1. What is this? 4, 25, and 61. This is 16, and I'm not even going to read those. 27, 28 with the 1 separating them. 10 is, it reduces to a 1. Honestly, it feels like with this energy, I don't necessarily know how it applies, but this is one of the messages. It's like Demeter Cares, she's gonna find her own person to the point where she doesn't have to obsess about her daughter anymore, right? The whole reason why we have seasons in the first place is because Demeter Cares cannot let go of her daughter. Her daughter is trying to have her own life with her husband. Like, she got a whole man, got a whole new place to go. And when I tap into that energy, it feels like it's happy. It doesn't necessarily feel like, Pluto tricked Persephone into loving him. It feels like a lot of people would be like, oh, well, certainly Persephone has been like deceived or tricked or she's held there by force. And it's like, why is Pluto that bad? Like, come on. That's why pomegranates grow there, right? Pomegranates wouldn't grow there if she weren't in a space of like happiness or contentment there. But Caris can't let go of her daughter. And because of that, into the fall and then into the winter, we experience decay, right? And it's almost like fall became the season of harvest because by wintertime, everything is going to be completely dead. So, let's take it while we can get it. And it's also because of that now we get the spring. It's like before that happened, it's like it would be eternally summer. Things would always be in the space of growing. So there is something that this gives us. Now we can appreciate rebirth. We get these cycles of rebirth. And we have this time where we can sort of harvest, where we can reap. We get a time where we can sort of like relax, take it easy, and be dormant a little bit. And then a time sort of like where we're under the sun. And so with that, there's a little bit of energy of like a blessing in disguise. It's almost like because the eternal child has been wounded that it gets the capability and capacity to heal. Like Chiron. Chiron became as good of a healer as he became because he was wounded in a way that he couldn't recover from. It's like I tried everything on myself and nothing really worked. So, this is how you heal that. This is how you heal that. So there is something in here that we experience even in a moment of separation, even in a moment of challenge. What does this say? My Latin is rusty. Where's my magnifying glass? Here it is. It says, Solam veritatem, verum quid refert, quod nullis, et omne quod non est verum. Solam veritatem. That feels like the truth of the sun, maybe? Verum quid refers. A refer? I feel like, because veritas is truth. Quod nullis. It's almost like a nowhere. Quid, quod, maybe. I don't know. Et is and. Omne quod non est verum. It's like nowhere. It's like it's nowhere and everywhere. Non est verum. My Latin is super rusty. Where the truth comes from. Oh, maybe that's it. It's like it comes from nowhere and it comes from everywhere. Honestly, again, in Miss Remy Healing's video, it reminds me of the dolphin when it said this and that are true. And a lot of times we look at either this or that is true. A lot of times we sort of sit in a space of comparison. And honestly, after that video, because I think I saw a crow somewhere either yesterday or today, and it was an energy of like crows being able to see past, present, and future. It's almost like crows travel between dimensions through the air. And it's like dolphins do the same, but in the medium of water. So dolphin can experience a reality where this is true. Dolphin can experience a reality where that is true. And because of the like the multidimensional nature of dolphins, or because of their ability to sort of like pop into and out of certain realities or existences, they learn to see a truth or truths. It's like this is the dolphin eye view of the situation. Maybe I should ask Siri. What would Siri say? Let's see. I love asking Siri questions. Hey Siri, where does truth come from?
The answer is English.
The answer is English? Terry Pratchett, first publication date 2000, publisher Doubleday, original language in English. Siri said English. The truth is a book? The truth is a book? What? Okay. I don't know. Language. Oh. So if the truth, the dolphin card really made you think of perception, this and that are true. Yeah, and I know you said that. I saw that. So with the truth coming from English, truth is in the word, right? It's in the spoken word, and maybe even the written word. Well, the letter is the written word. So maybe it is more in the spoken word. What's interesting is that in the letter, the birds are in a cage, but in the gentleman card, the birds are free. Oh, wait, my finger's in the way. You see that? They're in a cage here, and they're flying around over there. It feels like it's in the spoken word. Meaning, it's like it was like that also came up somewhere, and I remember you commented on that as well. Someone was like, words are spells or something like that. It's interesting because in the Judeo Christian creation story, God spoke everything into existence. And so it's almost like the power of speech holds the power of creation. And that's why it's this like this energy where it's a double-edged sword, right? Because either it can be toxic or medicinal with the snakes and snake venom. And it's like words can sort of have these like dual meanings. But it feels like more so than word, it's intention. It feels like it's intention more than anything. Because language changes. But intention is sort of like a more constant. Like that's the thing about sort of like telepathy or whatever, right? So, what does this mean? Which one of my decks will tell me what this means? Angel of Storms and Annihilator, and the tail end of that thing. Who haven't I pulled yet? I ain't pulled one of these. Operating as a unified whole, living the example, a heart that shines from the depths of the soul. With Ananiel, get curious, which is that child energy. The child and the shaman, it feels like. Oh, I already got rest and rejuvenation. Angel of strength. So with the Angel of Storms, with the tail end of this, it's almost like whether we rise or fall, again, it's in the heart. It's in intention. It's in things like that. Which is why like this strength is sort of important so that we don't bring ruin upon ourselves or others or something like that, right? So that's what I got. This was interesting. Some of these felt more cohesive, I guess, than other things. I am going to get, I guess, a final message from all of these just to give them a good shuffle before I put them away, because I like doing that. Let me make sure I put these all back in the right place. Alright. This deck is so hard for me to shuffle. Oh, look, I'm over here talking about the power of words. That's the one thing, it's like, you know. Oh, come on, I almost had it. This deck is not difficult to shuffle. I am able to shuffle this deck as easily as I do every other deck. Watch this. Words shape reality. What was that? That's a card in here. The power of words to brighten and terraform. To bring light to a situation and to shape and mold and form our experience. Okay, I'm going to need for cards to stop dropping to the ground, please. The ocean. This is very abyssus, in Wokat. The depths of me call to the depths of you. This is an internal ocean and a cosmic ocean. Bottom of the deck is the destroyer. There's an eye in this destroyer card. Oh, there's a pair of eyes. And it reminds me of this. This reminds me of this. There's this karmic dharmic energy. Yeah, see? And my knowledge on karma and dharma is extremely rusty. I first heard about it when I was like a freshman in high school. But it's like dharma is sort of the things that are laid out for you within this lifetime to do. And karma is a generation, it's like an accumulation based upon how you follow your dharma. Again, I'm not necessarily sure, but it's that energy. Or at least that's how I'm feeling it right now. And I think also with our dharma sometimes, in that destroyer card, there are certain things that it is for us to sort of leave behind. And if we carry things past their expiration date, then it rots. Right? And if we continue to carry it, then that will rot other things that we carry as well. Like that, you know, one bad apple spoiling the bunch type of energy. I don't know. The battle worth fighting. That was your Taurus. That was a Taurus video, right? With the warrior and the rainbow horns. I watched it. clover, which is a little bit of luck. Oh, goodness. And ships are the ship. I'm going to look at these. The child and mice. But the child was sort of in reverse. Or it came out like this, where the child was blocking. A little bit of luck. Oh, look, there's a 2 and the 3. Something in these cards, it's stepping incrementally. Here's a difference of 1. Here's a difference of 10. Well, this is minus 10. This is plus 1. Movement. It's like it is auspicious. it's it's fine. I typically remember a lot of stuff in mine. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like, oh, it was this thing. Which is, again, why I started putting dates on everything. Because sometimes it'll be like, oh, like, I feel like something similar to this came out around this time. Let me go back and watch it. Now, the number of times I actually go back and watch is not as great as I get the feeling to go back and watch. But it's this energy where progression, moving forward, is auspicious. It's favorable. If you continue, you will find something. It's like the winds will change. But right now, it may be hard to see. With the child sort of being the blockage, it feels like there's an element of either imagination or belief that is lacking, I'll say. Maybe it's belief, because with mice, it's like sort of thinking about every single little thing that could go wrong keeps us from moving in a space. And it keeps us from enjoying something as well. I don't know. You have to let me know. What's the bottom? Rods. Rods is 11 and garden. 20 and 11? 2011? I graduated from high school in 2011. It's been 10 years. I graduated from high school 10 years ago, like a few days ago. So it's been 10 years and a few days since I've graduated high school, which is kind of wild, but at the same time, not really. I used to be afraid of getting older. I used to have like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be 25. I don't want to be 30. But now that I've gotten over all that stuff, it's like, I don't mind. I'm enjoying living life now, so not as afraid of that anymore, or off put by it. I think I have a very contextual memory though. Like my memory will be triggered by something. I think like a standing memory, it may not be that great. But if it's triggered, then I can go back and find it usually a little easier. That's a whole bunch of cards, but we're going to take them because we're feeling daring today. Barakiel and Turiel, Angel of the Mountain. It's interesting. It's like after Barakiel fell, Turiel moved from the space of putting on a show for humanity and moved into the space of protecting whatever it is that he has from the greed of humanity. That's like the story that low key. I've never seen The Walking Dead, but now I gotta look up who that is. There's this energy that was low key, like, the angels, the divine lived among man, and everything was great and gorgeous and beautiful until one day man attacked. And when man attacked, everybody looked at Azazel because Azazel was the one who taught men how to sort of make and use weapons and to also respect that. It's almost like Azazel also tried to instill and teach a respect for life. And it's a respect that, was lost when other factors like greed and desire for power came into play. And so it's like, who used to be the most showboaty of, the original watchers now was like, yeah, no. It says, I press my body closer to that which I must keep. It is mine, and I will shield it from the misery of other hands. I can feel their gaze fall on it like an avalanche. Their greed feeds my conviction, so here I remain. And then there's the head of this angel, where it's like, we see down here, here's the other one, which is like, it is holding this trumpet. This is interesting. It feels like the trumpet is calling them home. Like there are still like angels amongst us, but they went deep undercover so, people wouldn't be weird around them. Then we have Cacabiel, angel of stars, Haniel, angel of Capricorn, and Remiel, angel of visions. This is the one that talked about by the thousands and by the thousand. Yeah, they continue to march on. They don't look back, but we stare on. Haniel, the long and lonely road that stretches before us must be walked, but it does not need to be walked alone. Walking into the future from the past, we travel a perilous journey. Sometimes there are people in our lives that guide us, and sometimes we ourselves must be the guide. So because things ended the way that they ended last time, or because things went down the way that they went down the last time, Spirit sort of had to get creative in how it makes itself present. See not the darkened slopes that present themselves today. There is light upon the farther side guiding us onward. Both of these are talking about moving onward. Ananiel, angel of storms, Rahab, angel of the deep. As the sun began to set, the boats turned to back towards the shore. All the while Ananiel pleaded with them to stay. Ignoring him, the fishermen held to their course. Angered, the angel summoned the waves to do what his words could not. He wrenched their boats from their destination and pulled them until the land was lost to the horizon. In life, these first seafarers had been his acolytes. In death, they were their own men. Rahab ferried the bodies of the dead into the sea. His promise to mankind was to bring them to a place where they would never be disturbed. They prayed that the abyss would give the dead peace. No one could know for sure except the grim watcher. The passage into darkness was a place of no return. It was his home and his alone. That is its nature. These two have come out together before, when I was staying at my buddy's place. It was like Rahab enticed them away from Ananiel. Ananiel could only see that they weren't listening to him. And it's because Ananiel reacted and behaved in the way that he did that it's like those seafarers were actually lost to the water and entered the realm of Rahab. What? Tamiel, angel of the unseen, and Ananiel again, angel of storms. This season brings many things, fairer tidings and fairer weather, a bold and brilliant sky shining in golden hue, these destined days without end. Look to the horizon, my son, see for yourself, its glory becomes us. Samuel moved through life with such ease that it took a long time before anyone realized he was blind. To know that one of them was deficient in some aspect was unsettling in a way that was hard to put into words. The attendance of Tamiel's rituals diminished as people's unease with him increased. It was clear that his insight was still valuable, but it was difficult to watch him wield his ceremonial dagger with the knowledge that he didn't know where it was going. This energy in both of these, of not knowing where you're going. Well, Tamiel knows what Tamiel is doing, and Rahab knows what lies in the deep because that's his home and his alone. We don't know what they're doing. We sort of project this. It's through our unease that we project this sort of questionability onto spirit in a way where it can accurately and properly navigate us within any space. And I feel like this is talking about intuition right here. Our intuition is moving us forward into the future in a way that our current knowing, our current knowledge, our current awareness cannot prepare us for. And it's the space of the unknown that makes room for a lot of fear that doesn't necessarily need to be. And it was maybe the space of that fear the first time that got us to act against spirit in whatever way we acted against spirit, right? But all three of these cards, it's like it's telling you to move on, it's telling you to trust, it's telling you to have faith. Just because you don't know doesn't mean that spirit doesn't know, and just because you feel completely lost doesn't mean that there isn't a plan, that there isn't a sort of greater system of workings at play. That's why we trust, that's why we surrender when we're told to. Or when we're guided to. And I was going to pull more cards, but I'll leave it at that. Bottom of the deck is Muriel, Angel of Cancer. I don't know why. Okay, that's why. So these go up here. Bottom of the deck. Oh, it's that thing with Matariel, Angel of Rain. Muriel is about the need for us to protect ourselves while simultaneously being vulnerable and being open to receive. Here it is. I'm gonna try my best to not go live tomorrow. And just like take it off. I feel like I should. Right? Just do my thing tomorrow. I told Reem that I would do the water fast with her. I can do it tomorrow. I feel like I've been drinking a lot of liquids and water anyway. That'll be exciting. I mean, I don't know if she saw me say that I was going to do it too, but I did say that I was going to do it too. What am I in this space to receive? I've been surrendering a lot. Opening up myself in ways that I was really, really resistant to in the past. And honestly, for me, what I've noticed is that it's the space of love that gets me to do what I was otherwise incapable or more resistant to doing. Now, I was resistant to love for a long time, so, the one thing that could save me, I was also very resistant to. So again, it was this energy of like a lot of very out of the way things. A lot of very out of the way routes to resolve things that were a lot closer to the heart in some ways. And, I've been fortunate and blessed enough to go about my journey to experience what I needed, to meet the people I needed, and to be able to open myself up like that. It's been gorgeous. Dawn before the first day of a new world. An old earth passed away in a breathtaking sight. Love that energy. Bottom of the deck, a forced uprising, an ancient word that stirs ancient things to life, whispered. See, that's that thing, those things that are coming out of portals, just like creeping out. Not in a bad way. Just in ways that we may not necessarily... I don't know. It feels like that Six of Cups energy again. And it reminds me of that one dream I had. And I've talked about it before. So there was a dream that I had at some point. I don't remember. It's probably in my little dream app on my phone. And I found myself like traveling through the dream, and then I was flying in this one space that was extremely disorienting, like vertigo, nausea, everything, beyond vertigo, nausea, everything. I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I'm about to throw up. And so what I did was, it's like, first I grounded myself. It was like ultra grounding, the level of grounding that I had to do to like land in this space, because again I was flying, and then I had to like expand my consciousness while still being grounded, and then it's like I came into being, right? Like if I was flying around in a little orb, and then the orb became Patrick, like Glinda the Good Witch from the beginning of the Wizard of Oz, right? And there I met a lady, and it's like she was me, and I looked at her and I was like, oh my gosh, like you're me, girl, like what? And it was so weird because it's like I remembered being her, or I remembered being one with her. I remembered us being the same person. And she felt like she had such a presence. It was like, how did I ever forget you? Like, you're such a huge part of who I am. Or I was just like all consumed by your presence or whatever. I don't know. But it was like that moment of instant recognition in that dream. And recognition to the point that it's like, how did I even forget you? And then she was just looking at me, kind of not surprised that I had made it into that space. But she was sitting there, like, literally waiting for me to arrive. And I just remember, like, oh, like, in the dream, I was like, oh, you're my sexuality or my sensuality. And I was like, no, because, like, you're more complete than that. The presence, it wasn't, like, this singular aspect of who I am. It was all-encompassing. It's like it had a presence of its own. And, like, with that Six of Cups, it feels like it's very similar. It's like once you come into this, once you come in contact with this energy or this fragment of yourself or whatever, there's going to be a moment of instant recognition. Yeah, it was a pretty awesome dream. Again, after I got over, I was like, oh my gosh. I don't really want a final card from this deck, but I'm going to take one. Compassion. Okay, I'm not mad at that. Bottom of the deck is the Magi. The Magi and Compassion, that reminds me of, I think, yesterday. It was like knowledge plus empathy equals wisdom. And so compassion, it's that energy that is able to accommodate and account for things that are beyond yourself. And once you master this, you master this, because we live on Earth. We live in a shared space, right? So to reach those truly magical, I guess, levels of manifestation or whatever, you have to be able to accommodate or allow space for others, right? Both feminine and masculine leads to creation. So it needs to do more than just be sort of self-focused. And it feels like the more self-focused energy is masculine. That's the self, and then the collective, the us, the we, is the feminine energy. And it needs both feminine and masculine to come into being with more ease or effortlessness. Yeah, now all kinds of folks just be popping up sometimes. I'm like, oh, hi, what can I do for you? Like, did not necessarily expect to see you in the space of this dream, but okay. But I guess it's also a part of the nature of what I cultivated. And I think I've talked about it maybe on the other channel. I feel like I've talked about it on this channel of when I first sort of had my awakening. And, well, first I came into awakening. I came into a little space of awakening where I felt like I connected to my spirit guides, and then had like two of the darkest days of my life. And then after I came out of that, I was like, oh my gosh. That's when I started meditating. And in the space of that first meditation, I went on a little trip and I went on a little journey. And within the space of a few days to a week, I had created a space and then I had like done all kinds of things. And I'm very much so like a mental person. So for me, a lot of things happen. Was that the door to value? Yeah, it is. For me, a lot of things happen in my mental space. And so that's why I don't too much engage in like, crystals or herbs or anything physical really. I try to find the frequency and tap into that. It works for me. Um, and I'm sure, if I had the physical, it would be easier or whatever. It's just how I'm wired. Um, and the trip, the journey that my higher self took me on, and it feels that like there's like different levels of a higher self. Not necessarily, but it feels like this aspect of self that was original. It's interesting because, like, I did a spirit guide guided meditation, and in the spirit guide guided meditation, I met two guides, and then there was a guide that was asleep, and it was like that aspect of self. It was asleep, and I was like, "What's that about?" But even when it was asleep, I could still kind of sort of communicate with it telepathically in that space. But after I went through my darkest night, which was like, again, two of the darkest days of my life, after, it's like, I feel like I'm connecting to my spirit guides, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I feel like, spirit loves me, and I feel like seen, and then just nothing, just floating out there in the darkness all alone. And I'm like, okay, well, if y'all don't care about me, then then what? I'm just going to lay here. And then I woke up. Yeah. And then I woke up, and then I came out of it, and I found a meditation. It was a meditation for super consciousness. I have it saved in a playlist somewhere because I loved it. And within the space, it's like a 2-hour binaural beat thing on YouTube. And I laid on my bed and I did the full 2 hours. And then a mantra came to me line by line. And in that mantra, it like woke up that part of me that was asleep. And then that part of me took me on this journey. And then in the journey, it's like I met this other consciousness, and I was like, what? And then, so I initially created my sacred space out there. And then because of other things that I saw later, it's like I moved that sacred space closer to the heart space within myself, and I grounded and connected that to earth. And at first, it was like this consciousness that, and it's interesting that today Reem showed the painting, and she talked about the dream that she had, because it was just like this consciousness floating out in space somewhere. And again, it was like within the vicinity of that I created that first sacred space. And then because of things I saw later, that was like, ground yourself to the earth and visualize the golden cord or the silver cord or whatever, going into the core and blah, 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 right? That's when I was like, oh, well, like, let me move this space, into my heart space. And then from that heart space, I connected it down to earth, which for me, I guess, was the beginning of this connection that I have with Gaia. That for me, I guess I feel like it's kind of weird for me because like I have this, it's like an open line, I guess, that I have with Gaia, Mother Earth. And it was like last year, there was this point in time when I was like, is there anything that you need from me? Is there anything that I can do? And again, for me, a lot of things, it's like mental. And in mental, in the space of consciousness, it's like you can do a lot of things. That's why I love brains. I love brains because it's like we can do so much outside of what we are sort of capable of in our physical like reality. And besides that, it's like honestly, a lot of times I connect with the energy of Gaia. She's like, I'm good. But I think it was a few weeks ago, and I talked about it, but I didn't talk about it exactly. It was like after I had gone live, I got like this SOS message from Gaia. And I was like, what? This never happens. That's interesting. And I was like, At first I was like, okay, so I'm gonna do a meditation and then I'm gonna connect to this, and then I went to the bathroom because I had to pee, and then I played games, and then I did other stuff, and then I kind of forgot about it, and then I remembered, and when I remembered, I was like, oh, like let me go back and see what like Gaia's up to, or what Gaia needed, and it's interesting. So like earlier in that day, it was this energy, and it was connected to the sun. And so basically what I did is like I in the space, in that mental space, put like this little auric sort of bubble around Earth, around Gaia. But it was like multi-layered, and it was something about the way that the sun, how the sun was gonna interact with the Earth. It was gonna like shift and move and change these different layers in a way to make it easier for Earth to like integrate the frequencies. And then later that evening is when I'm on YouTube on my homepage, and it's like the sixth sun, and like in the space of this solar eclipse, like where a new sun is gonna be born, and blah blah blah. And I was like, what? That's crazy, because the energy of Gaia was just like, hey, and then I was led to create sort of this bubble that would be able to help us better integrate the energies that are about to come from the sun or something. And I didn't expect to find a synchronicity. That's when I was like, okay, I guess something is going on. Man, I think it's that Q&A I watched with Reem earlier today, because usually this is stuff that I don't really talk about. um, and again, since like I look for frequency and I connect to frequency and consciousness, and so anyway, that was recently. But there was this one space, or there was this one time where after I had created that space, I wanted to go back to that consciousness in the middle of just floating out there somewhere. And I was able to just like be there. And then through that, it was like this quantum sort of thing where I had the space that was where it was originally, and I had the space within my heart space that was connected to Gaia. And then it's like, I asked that consciousness out there, like for permission to connect to it. And so then it's like that little quantum sort of shared space that I came upon and was led to create, was able to be this bridge sort of between like this cosmic consciousness and the consciousness of Gaia. It's like they kind of sort of lined up. And then actually later, because I went through so at first I created that space and it had like one floor. And then some events transpired. It's so funny because like I was in that space, and I was like, this was like summer 2019. And I'm just doing whatever. I had just gotten the Spirit Keepers Tarot then. I wasn't really using my channel much. I wasn't using my channel at all then. And I was like reading for myself or doing something, or just like at my desk. And I felt, or first I heard it. It was like footsteps coming down a long hallway. And I was like, what is that? And I kept hearing it. And then so I tuned into that space, and I could see like these feet coming down the hallway towards that space. And I was like trying to rush it. I was like, come on. And it's funny that I was trying to rush it, and it wasn't moving any faster. And I tried to like envision it in that space. And then I kept hearing the footsteps, and I did it like 2 or 3 times. And then that energy entered the space. And so one of the things that I was intuitively led to do before that, like in the week or 2 weeks prior to that happening, was to consciously envision myself more in that space, just to really anchor my consciousness into that sacred space. And then after a certain point in time, it's just like I left an avatar of myself in that space. So when I went back, so when I was observing the space, like the avatar that I had left in that space was interacting with the person that approached it. And some stuff was happening, and I was confused. I felt like I was invading like my own personal space, and I'm like, this is supposed to be my space. Like, what's happening in here? And I remembered that part of me was like it was a return. It was the energy of like a union or a reunion. And it's like it was linked to a person in the space, right? And it was like, when you meet this person, when you come in contact with this energy, you will know why I feel the way I feel in this space. And then the space shut down. I was like, okay, like, cute work. And then the space shut down, and I would like try to tap into that space, and I wouldn't get anything. And I think that was, we were having a lunar eclipse in like June or July. It might have been around the 4th of July. I think we had a lunar eclipse around the 4th of July 2019. But I'm about to look it up. Maybe it was like the end of June and then the 4th of July. Oops, I forgot about these cards, girl. I gotta shuffle these too. Lunar eclipses 2019. Oops. July 2nd and July 16th. It was a solar eclipse. It was a total solar eclipse on July 2nd. So we actually had, yeah, in 2019, we had solar eclipses before lunar eclipses. This year, we're going to have a lunar eclipse first. Like, we had the lunar eclipse first and then the solar eclipse. And I think later in the year, we're going to have another lunar eclipse before a solar eclipse. But in 2019, we had the solar eclipses first. July 2nd, total solar eclipse. July 16th, partial lunar eclipse. So anyway, yeah, it shut down. And I was like, what is going on? And then it's like, I received, or I got that, like, it was under renovation. It's like it was under construction. It was being updated after that other consciousness had sort of like found me or whatever. And then when it opened up, it was like blank, like the new space. So then I unlocked a second floor. So it's like, it's the same sacred space. The first floor was what it's what it was created to be. The second floor was different. The second floor was blank. It was like all white, and it's a space that only I existed in. For the most part. For the most part. And I didn't know what to do with it for a long time. I'm like, what do I do with this space? Like, what is this? And then since then, I've actually like unlocked 2 more levels. But it was later. Actually, it might have been, because that happened in like the summer. In July, it shut down and then it reopened up. It wasn't until I think the fall of 2019 that I began to receive sort of like what to do with that second space. And so again, there was a period in time where I had to like consciously put myself in that space basically as much as I could. And whenever I caught myself like not consciously being in that space, I would put myself back into that space. And that developed. And then later, it like the third floor unlocked. The third floor unlocked in February of 2020 when I was in the space of my spiritual retreat, when I visited my friend last year. That third space unlocked. And then in March, when I was going through whatever I was going through in March, the fourth space, like the fourth level to that space unlocked. And the fourth, like, honestly, I don't even consciously use that space a lot anymore, which is something that I want to do more of. I've kind of sort of been like, I feel like if I like channel from that space, especially in the second floor, it's like I use it sometimes. I have no clue, Eve. It could be. Wow, I'm like really talking about all this. I think I've talked about some of this before. But so the interesting thing was like, after I got the mantra to awaken that sleeping part of myself, after it took me on the journey that it took me on, and it's like, it was this aspect of myself that took a certain form, and it took me into like the middle of nowhere, and it breathed like this cosmic blue purple fire that like created stars. And then it was like not too long after that I found that consciousness out there, or I like bumped into that consciousness out there or whatever. But after that aspect of myself, it left. And I was like, what? Like, you were asleep. Like, what are you going to do? Like, what better? Like, you're supposed to be my guide. But again, like, even though I felt that that aspect of myself had left, I was still like consciously connected to it, right? So it's like it didn't actually go anywhere, but it just wasn't like in my space. And then later, it felt like a merging of aspects. After the space shut down, when the space reopened, it felt like a merging of aspects. And it was some stuff that like I didn't understand. And again, it was like blank. And there isn't really anything that I can like look up, research, or Google that'll tell me like necessarily what all this stuff is, right? I did get a reading from somebody about that second space one time. And she said that it was like a space where I could connect like more directly to the divine and like more personally. And so I think it was after that that I was like, I guess like I just built this space out into whatever I need at the moment. And that's how I treated it. And so I built these different spaces. And there was something in that second space that I got sort of like access to. And I was like, I feel like it would take a long time for me to like put myself in this space and then like try to get access to it. So one of the things that I actually did in that space, which is when I was connected to it, is like I what is that word? I basically like digitized everything, and then I projected like something into that space to be able to like just pull it up on a computer basically, and that's why I had to exist in that space consciously as I could for as like I did it for like a week so that like things could be uploaded, right? To be accessed even easier later. And again, I don't even like use these spaces. But that's one of the things that I sort of put into that second space because the second level is it's there for projection. Or not projection, but it's there to like anything that I sort of need, it can be built into that space. Again, it's not a space that I necessarily use a lot because I'm not necessarily trying to operate in the fullness of my gift in a public forum. Honestly, like this is the extent of what I really want to do for the collective. And I remember I had a dream one time, and in the dream I was asked to do something that I didn't think I could do. But then, like, there was an intuitive knowing within me that just did it. And it was in a classroom setting. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, how do you do this? And I'm like, it's easy. Like, first you connect to the all. And then through your connection to the all, it's like you can connect somebody else to the all. So the all creator, like, does all the work. It's just like you kind of sort of facilitate that connection. And so there was a point in time where I tried to like build that into the space, but again, it's like there was enough resistance within me. Like I'm not trying to be a healer, honestly. I did a meditation class in 2019. It is within me to be a healer. I have the capability and capacity. It comes very intuitively and very naturally to me. I was sort of put on the spot, and there was something within me that was basically like, try without trying, and things will just flow. And it did. And it was surprising when I was like, because there was an instructor there. It was in my meditation class. And I was like, you said we can heal people? What? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, well, how do we know we can do that? And he was like, he laughed at me. He was like, you could do it now if you believe that you can. I was like, what? And of course, I walked away feeling special or whatever. But that was one of the things that I had one of those conversations with spirit where I was like, I don't want to do that in this lifetime. Like, I don't want to be a healer. I don't want to put myself in a position where anybody can be dependent upon me for anything because I'm not about that. I don't like that. I don't want that. That feels weird to me. And it's like, that's something I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. It was, again, it was like cool. And it like to get the confirmation that what I was feeling was what the other person was also feeling and how like all of that worked out. I was like, oh my gosh, like I could do this. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to. And I was scared. I was like, I feel like the fact that I'm rediscovering this in this lifetime means that spirit is going to ask me to do this and I don't want to do it. But I've been learning to be less resistant. Anyway, so in that sort of healing capacity, That's what was triggered in that dream, like a long time before I actually had that experience in real life. Um, but anyway, that's how I coded the second floor. Now, the third level and the fourth level, I haven't done that same like put myself in this space as consciously as I can for the space of about a week. Um, I discovered the third level and I was like, okay, that's cool. Not going to do anything with that. And then I happened upon the fourth level and I was just like, I'm not even working at the third level. And then there was this level that was like, there's this other space in that space. I don't know if it's above the fourth level or if that's the difference in the space between the third level and the fourth level. The responsibility that scared me, I don't know. Maybe I had a past life as a healer and somebody said I was a witch and they burned me or they blamed me for something. Like I've also had that dream and I've talked about it before. I had a dream where I was like a little girl and my family, like we had magic or whatever. And my magic was associated with like growth. Like I could make flowers grow or something like that. And also fireworks, like things that were very lighthearted and fun. And I was young in the dream. And I had an older brother and he was like, you're not supposed to just be, because I was like entertaining somebody. And he was like, you're not supposed to be doing that. And I was like, why? Why not? It's fun. And I like bringing smiles to people's faces. And then I go home and, my dad in that dream is like, trying to get me to go down a path that I didn't really want to go down. And the mom in the dream was like, you choose what you do with your gifts. And then in that space, it's like we were being attacked. And I was like, what's happening? Like, it was a space of like it's not I don't want to say Inquisition-y type vibes, but very like old school witch hunt types of things. And like the place that we had, like we were like well off. It was a nice place. And I was like, but like we use our gifts for good. Like it's because of us that they're not starving. It's because of us that like the crops are growing and like we do our part to make sure that everyone else is good. We try to bring abundance to those around us instead of just hoarding it for ourselves. Why are we under attack? And again, in the dream, I was young. I didn't have the capacity to understand. Mom told my other brother, get her out of the house and just go. And so we fled and I'm assuming the worst happened to the family. So yeah, sometimes I'm like, yeah, don't want to do that. Don't want to do that. Not trying to burn or die on a stake or be accused of whatever. So I don't know if that's necessarily it. I wouldn't be surprised if I've had a bad experience in a past life. Also, within this lifetime, I think it would be cool to discover, but again, I don't necessarily want to use it um, in that space. Even like when I was younger, when I was really young, I noticed that like if I could like put energy into my hands to make them warm. And then I don't know how. There are so many things that I've come across in life where I'm like, how did I even come across that? But I came across it was a healer in a country somewhere who was like basically able to do that. They were able to channel energy through their hands and then their hands would like sweat or it would produce a liquid or that's what they would use to heal people. And I was like, oh my gosh, I could do that because like I can already make my hands warm just by like thinking about it. And then I proceeded to not do that. But anyway, um, so yeah, it's just like that's one of the things that I've discovered that I don't really want to do. I'm not too keen on it. Again, like this is the limit of what I want to do, and one of the reasons why I love cards. Who is this? Deceit. What? Deceit with strategy at the bottom of the deck. What's this about? The Page, Prince of Cups, the Ten of Wands, and this title card. Don't know what that's about. It's almost an energy of like, how we fear things that we don't understand type of energy. Yeah. See, and then I discovered, Reiki. I didn't really like I've heard about Reiki. I know what Reiki is. I've never really put too much energy into like learning it. Again, it's not really something that I want to do because I think I have this fear that's like Well, if I develop the skill, then Spirit is going to ask me to use it, and I am not trying to do that in this lifetime. So I'm not trying to do that in this lifetime. So that's going to be something that we don't delve into. Um, and I feel like there are plenty of people out there who have the gift, the skill, the ability, the interest in that. I'll leave it to them. Um, so anyway, that was the creation of those spaces. I don't remember why I went into all that. Well, that's how I came about creating those spaces. Again, I don't remember why I started talking about that. I blame the Q&A that I watched earlier on Mystery Me Healings. And that happened like last year. Russell did a video. It's either trial by fire or trial by water. I think it was the trial by fire. And he was very open in that video. And it inspired me to come and do the same. And then I was like, whew. So whenever I see it, I'm like, yeah, I want to do that too. But otherwise, I'm like, yeah, this isn't, nope, I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about this. I don't remember how I started talking about all that. I don't know. Maybe it's late enough in the video that no one will even watch this part, right? It's like 2 hours into the video. Maybe it's safe here. Eve, don't make this feel like such a safe space. I'm just gonna keep sharing. I'm just kidding. Thank you for being here. It's nice to sort of feel comfortable. And, just like that little piece about authenticity that came out earlier today, it is what it is. There are sort of gifts and pieces and fragments that I don't really want to use. Six of Swords. See, there's an energy in the Six of Swords that's like things being more difficult because of withholding. Right? It's like there's this sword that can make things a lot easier. We can move the Five of Swords into the Six of Swords, but it's being shielded because of a fear of persecution or whatever. Bottom of the deck is Strength, which is Durga. Riding on that tiger. Tigers have been coming out lately. Durga has all these weapons, and then she has the lotus in one hand. Oh, deck is like, be strong. Go out there. Give that little Ace of Swords so things will be made easier. I'm like, no. That's not what I signed up for. I'm only here so I can learn and grow and be whatever, right? That's it. I'm just playing. But yeah, now that I think about it, it's a space that I don't really use too often anymore. It's stuff that I don't really connect to often. And I've kind of sort of always have had this open dialogue sort of relationship with spirit. It's just almost always been like that. And so for me, I guess it makes it a lot easier. Yeah. And that's another thing that I like. Maybe I'll try to, it's like I try to be clever. I do want to read the Strength card because I'm interested about Durga. In the Tarot Apocalypsis, the reason why I got the Tarot Apocalypsis is because it's based in different belief systems throughout like different cultures and through even different times, right? And in the book, they go into all of it. I don't know why I'm on the Lovers. Hello? I'm looking for Strength. Is Strength 8 or 11? It's 8. So Durga Puja, which is the rising of Durga. There are those that will tell you the world is love and beauty. These are fools and liars. The world is a great battlefield filled with struggle and the spilling of blood. This is the nourishment of the earth. Yet in this vast arena of conflict, you forget that the final battlefield is yourself. I am the bringer of victory over demons, the rider of lions, mistress of power, and the invincible warrior. Make offerings of flowers and blood to me, and I shall open my arms, bedecked with weaponry, to take you into my bosom as my child. Dance not for me, but show me your battles. Give me your fighting and all your strength of will. Listen to my war cry, and you shall understand the light of the fires within that blaze higher at the sound of the clashing of swords. It is bloodlust, lifelust, and a lust to overcome. This overcoming is the greatest mystery and the longest journey. It is the road that never ends. There is no highest, no completion, only greater challenges. I, power awakened, demand your knowing of your raw power, your embodiment of that dynamic force that creates the world, your acceptance of the warrior's austere road of self-will and inner strength. Sing banner songs for me and raise to me spears, cry out my name in the midst of battle, and I shall cry out within you as the fire that burns in your soul. Let's see, let's get into Durga. Where's Durga? In India, it is the goddess Durga who represents the strength of will, power, and the energy that is required to overcome. She is given a large and widespread festival, Durga Puja, every autumn during the first 9 days of the waxing moon of the month of Asvin. For this festival, devotees purchase or donate to the creation of beautiful, brightly colored clay images of Durga, recreating her most famous myth, attended by a variety of other deities. Pandals. Oh, I need to go to India to see pandals at some point. Into these statues, Durga will be called to reside for the duration of the Durga Puja, and once installed, she will be given offerings, worshipped with song and praises, and petitioned. At the end of the festival, these statues will be deposited into a sacred body of water, such as the Ganges, there to return to their primal state as unformed clay. The scene depicted by these clay images is of Durga slaying the buffalo demon Mahisa in battle, a story that is told in several versions, but most famously in the Devi Mahatmya of the Markandeya Purana. I probably butchered that. Composed in Sanskrit around 400 to 500 CE. In this myth, Durga comes forth from the light creating. Let me slow down. I'm going to slow down so I can actually read this. In this myth, Durga comes forth from the light created by the anger of the gods upon being threatened by a great demonic army led by Mahisa, who would not be killed by any man. Durga thus represents the ferocity of the need to fight and be triumphant over evil and the action required to do so. When she had come into being, the gods armed her with various weapons sacred to them. That she is given her weapons by the gods demonstrates her divine strength and power. The gods assumed a subordinate position, and she became a supreme powerhouse. As she was created by the active energy of the gods, Durga is an embodiment of Sakti, the primordial cosmic energy of dynamic force that moves the universe. As the Sakti force sent out and surrendered by the gods in her creation, Durga is also the force that recreates the cosmos. Thus, in Durga Puja, devotees awaken the Devi from her latent presence within the constituent elements, earth, water, and life, of nature into active and expansive, yet accessible manifestations. She is power awakened and made manifest. One of the functions of the Durga Puja is empowerment on a personal and communal level, and the orchestration of the movement of feminine power and energy to a creative pursuit. It's interesting because earlier today, Reem talked about Inanna Ishtar, Kali, I think Lilith, and some other goddess energies. Who was it? Isis, Inanna Ishtar, Kali. And it's interesting that because Kali too was born in order to slay a demon. And it's interesting that such a sort of divine task was given to a feminine energy. And it's interesting because later, or it's like a lot of times we have a goddess energy, she's associated with beauty and childbearing and fertility and things that it's like, the feminine is responsible for, of course. But it's like it feels like a lot of later deities don't necessarily, especially goddesses, don't necessarily get that same sort of strength. And even when Reem did, was it Gate One, Anana Ishtar, the Gate of Anana Ishtar? She even talked about how as the world sort of shifted and moved into a more passive feminine energy, where it became more masculine dominant, Anana Ishtar kind of sort of fell out of favor because she was too strong. She was too independent. She wasn't really subservient to masculine energy. Whew. So this might be the thing that, like, speaking of judgment energy, this might be like one of those energies that's coming out between the pillars and popping out, coming back to be resurrected or whatever. I don't know. Durga is clearly defined as a warrioress from the moment of her creation. One tale of her origin says that she emerged from Parvati when she shed her outer skin, which took on an identity of its own as a warrior goddess. In many of the myths, Durga's male opponents discounted her prowess in battle, saying that as a woman she was too fragile for anything but marriage. Well, there we go. There we go. They made her offers of marriage in order to subdue her. In one instance, she replied by saying that she would not marry anybody that could not defeat her in battle. In another, she replied by telling her opponent the ways in which she would defeat him on the battlefield. The would-be suitors attempted to defeat her in battle and were destroyed. In the context of the ancient Hindu world, in which the gender roles afforded to men and women put women in the domestic, private realm and men in the political, public realm, this represents the refusal to be subdued or have one's power removed by others. Durga's destruction of the demon Mahisa, as the focal image for Durga Puja, tells us that the most obvious function of this festival is to worship a deity of empowerment. Her lion mount, given to her by the gods at her creation, is a symbol of her Sakti power, the active principles of creation and ferocity. She does not seek to tame it or control it, but instead rides it, both her and the beast battling together. Devotees see in Durga a pure, sattva, and awesome power, Sakti, that crushes unrighteousness, adharma, ignorance and egotism, symbolized by the dark tamas, buffalo form of the demon Mahisa. The demon is also symbolic of other enemies, such as those created by political issues and the demands of the modern world. In modern India, she is a natural icon for emerging Indian feminism. During the time of the British Raj in Bengal, she also became identified with the Indian independence movement, becoming a symbol of India overcoming its oppressors. This is a powerful, fierce, protective goddess who was called upon to grant victory, destroy evil, and bless those who would rise up and triumph over adversity. In the liturgy of Durga Puja, Durga is given many praises and epithets. She is called giver of victory and killer of enemies, suppressor of the arrogance of demons, dread incarnate, and the remover of fears arising from all quarters. The ritual praises her as having enormous strength, might, born of the divine energy of the gods, strength/might, born of the divine energy of the gods. Even her name reminds us of the inner strength and active power that she embodies, coming from the Sanskrit for fort, giving rise to epithets such as invincible. In the card image, her hair is long and wild, a reference to East Javanese period statues that show Durga in this manner, a feature not often found in depictions of Indian goddesses. The wild hair is associated with power and wildness, an inner strength that can intimidate and protect. During Durga Puja, the inner power of every devotee is called up and given strength. The battles of the world are to be found around every corner, and Durga blesses her warriors with an understanding of how to channel their ferocity and raw energy towards victory. Whew, that was a lot. That's Durga. Shout out to Durga. I vibe with the Kali frequency. Honestly, I vibe with Kali for like ever. But Durga is also pretty lit. I can get down with that. Is Kali in here? I don't think she is. So yeah, there you go. A nice way to wrap up this 2.5 hour video. I think that's all the cards that I took out. If there will be no further questions, I will kindly proceed to private this video. I'm just playing. I'll leave it up. That's one of the things I did a lot, though. When I first started my channel, I have a lot of privated videos because I wasn't ready to really have a presence yet. Also, some things back then were weird. But yeah, Kali is so loving just for us. I love the energy of Kali. Kali, for me, it holds one of those energies that it's like, if there's no corruption, if there's nothing that warrants sort of being destroyed, then it's like, why would you fear this energy? Why would you fear an energy that only seeks to sort of like purify or cleanse or to renew or to make something whole, to make something better, to make something beautiful? Again, to remove corruption. If there's no corruption, then there's nothing to fear. And, what masculine energy was trying to do at the time was, not necessarily, I guess, conducive to, like they talked about with Durga and how, she wasn't subservient or subordinate, and Kali kind of sort of got the same treatment. And honestly, I think that, like, when I had that dream where I was like, oh my gosh, I just got a message from Kali, what? I can hear it plain as day, it's so clear. And she was like, if I come now, if I show up in the incarnation that everyone knows me as now, then what will there be later? And I was like, what? Because I was, I was a little bit like, we're never going to get it. Humanity is doomed. We're going to keep repeating the same things over and over and over. Just come down. Let's wipe the board. We'll try it again. In a few thousand years or however long it takes us to evolve to this point again. And she was like, nah. And then after that, that's when I was on a walk that was like, allow the world to be rewritten. And it took me a minute to sort of figure out what that dream was about. But for me, again, I guess it's discovering these other aspects to myself that exist outside of how quick I am to be angry or upset and then to pull my energy out of something. And I guess that's, it's just my little journey that I'm on. And it's not to take away any of the power of a sacred rage, a divine fury, that which can correct. But it's almost like it's needing to be done in a lot more gentle of ways. Because now it's like it's about teaching. It's about educating. It's about creating a path forward for more and more people to take. And it needs to happen a little differently, at least from my perspective, from my point of view. So anyway, no problem, Eve. I'm glad to share all of that. Is there anything else that I haven't mentioned? I guess. So that aspect that I found sleeping in the back of this little cabin in this. Oh, I didn't talk about that. That's fine. It was a dragon. And that's something that I don't talk about too often. Because I feel like dragon energy can sometimes not have the greatest connotation. But it was a dragon. And I've always been interested in dragons. And then to see that, like, that dragon sleeping in the back, I was like, what's that? And again, like, it was this cosmic dragon that was literally able to breathe life into the universe. It created, like, stars. I was like, what? That's crazy. And then it left. I was like, where are you going? You just woke up. And there have been, like, other... Because I remember coming back from a meditation class one day. It's fine. I don't have to get all the way into it. I mean, honestly, I feel like I haven't experienced dragon energy yet either, because as soon as it woke up, it was gone. But also, I feel like I can see myself being the type of person where it's really important for me to discover things on my own. And because of the way that I learn, if I discover something on my own, I'm a lot more likely to see how it can connect to other things. Like my brain operates in metaphor and connectivity. And that's one of the things that's helped me learn, even academically or moving through academia. Like seeing how things that are seemingly unrelated are connected and being able to use principles from one subject to apply them to another subject to expedite the learning process. It gives me a sort of like learned flexibility, I guess, when it comes to certain things. And maybe I should dive into those other spaces, especially now that I've gotten my degree. At first, it was like, oh, I can't do any, like, we're halting all spiritual growth, halting all spiritual development. I'm not building any more spreads. I'm not doing this until I get my degree because my degree is important. And I feel like there are so many things that I was like, I need to get my degree first. And I've had my degree for like almost 6 months now. I got it in January, like mid to late January. And it's like, well, what was all that stuff? And then I proceeded to play a lot of video games and watch a lot of anime. So, you know. So it's like now I should probably get back on that. And yeah, I don't know. So like when I say I'm weird or whatever, like this is what I mean. I'm not necessarily trying to whatever. But I don't know. Maybe it's time. Maybe it is time. Yeah. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate, I guess, about the beginning of my journey, or maybe just who I am in general, is that like I always give myself space to sort of experience personally rather than taking or being so quick to take someone else's interpretation of things. It's like it leaves space for remembrance or for the knowing that exists inside, you know? Just like Reem said earlier. I think in the beginning of my spiritual journey, it was a lot of stuff that just like doesn't really speak to me. Like one of the first things I came across was like ayahuasca, and it's nothing against any plant medicine or whatever, but for me it's like that's a no. I was like, okay. So it's like I'm exposed to something that I can like, and I watched a lot of different like experiences and a few documentaries and like what people the experiences that people had. It's like, you know, you connect to the consciousness behind ayahuasca. But I'm like, well, if it's a consciousness, can you like that's again, that's me though. It's like, well, let me find the frequency. Let me find the consciousness. Let me float to that and leave the physical thing alone. I don't know. I don't know. I think that was it. Yeah. It was a dragon that was still asleep. I had these two guides. I had the two darkest nights of my life. I was like, everything has to change. I started by doing that 2 hours, super consciousness, meditation. I received a mantra to wake up that dragon. The dragon took me on a journey, helped me begin to create that sacred space in the middle of nowhere. And then there was a video that I found on YouTube that was like, it was about creating spaces or something like that. And for a lot of things, like even with the spirit guided meditation, it's like I'll start with it and then within myself it's like it'll build itself out into something. and then it kind of sort of starts to deviate from, the video, and then I'm like, okay, I got it from here. I'll finish the rest alone. Thanks for getting me started. And yeah, in the space over time, as I hit sort of different milestones within my own growth journey, the space evolved, and then it's just like I stopped using the space. It's like, wow, I should connect to that space more. And like the fourth level in that space, I'm just like, what do I do with this? Like, I don't want this. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Hello? That's like I typically stick to the first two. And like so in dreams, I've tried to find that sacred space before. And I know I found it one time. I found the first floor. And maybe I found it a different time too. And maybe somebody was about to come into the space and then I woke up or something. I don't know. I don't know. Do you think anyone's gonna find this like at 2 hours into the video, Eve? Can I keep this up? I'm gonna keep it up. I'm not gonna delete it. Alright, that's what I got. I need to use the restroom. It's been a while. Oh, snap. There you go. And I did there was one time, it was November 2019, when I was triggered AF one night. I was like, I don't know why I'm triggered the way that I'm triggered, but I'm like super triggered. And then I was in this space, just like faced with this giant light. And I'm like, this is intimidating AF. I'm not doing this. I was like, no, thank you. I pass. And then, I had my 2 days where I'm like, I'm not doing that. My spiritual journey stops here. I'm not going I'm not going back, because that's a non-option, but I don't have to go any more forward. And I was like, this is too much for one person. Like, I can't, this is a lot. And then eventually it's like I got back on it. And then when the events of 2020 happened, I was like, oh, okay. So this was that light. This is everything that I feel within me that I now have to take on. It's like, okay, I can do that. I was like, I don't know. But I'm glad you found your guide. It's a blessing. I should probably work with mine more. I feel like that's a message that I get a lot. It's like, your guides are there. Don't be afraid to use them. Don't be afraid to ask Spirit for whatever you need. And I'm like, no, I got it. I'll figure it out. No, don't give me any answers. Don't give me any hints. I'll figure it out. It's like, okay, well, we'll be here if you need anything. Yeah. But you never know. Someone may come in and pop on later just to see what I was talking about this day. Whoever finds this is meant to find it. I'm not necessarily concerned anymore. It's out of my hands. It's just my job to be authentic, I guess. And if it gives other people maybe the courage, just like I received the courage or the impetus to talk about this, maybe others will too. And then, maybe we'll all feel a little less weird. Or I'll feel a little less outside or weird or different or whatever. So, yeah. So thank you, E, for being here. I think Zelda was here earlier. Lauren stopped in. It was nice to see y'all. This was just a bunch of random messages followed by some oversharing at the end. Happy eclipse, I guess. Things are happening. That card comes out fairly consistently in the Diceology. An ancient word that stirs ancient things to life, whispered. So something is in the space of returning or being birthed or whatever. So, all right. Well, I hope you all have a good whatever whenever you see this. I'll catch you in the next one. I'm going to do my best to not, if I feel like coming live tomorrow, if I feel so led or guided, I'll be here. I'm not going to say I'm not. I feel like a lot of times I'm like, oh, I'm not going to go live today. And then I end up going live today. It's fine. I have the time and the space to do it now. So why not? So maybe if I leave this, I'm gonna position this in the thumbnail or in the screen so that if I end the video, it's like it'll make this the thumbnail. And I'll catch you later. Bye. Have a happy new moon, Gemini, solar eclipse. Good night.